What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy News Beat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Thursday, January 5th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsBeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'll tell you what, it is a fantastic day talking to all my clients.
Yeah, you've had a good day, Stu. We've had a good day. We're excited to be here, and we have a great show for you guys lined up today. First, we're going to start out in Hawaii and talk about how their biggest solar plus storage plant will soon start delivering 9 cents per kilowatt hour. I hope that's true, because that's a great rate. We're going to see Bitcoin miners moving to Hawaii. Imagine that.
Yeah.
We'll also cover why precious metals and this recession will weigh on them, but a weaker dollar could help. So nice. If you're into gold, this would be a great article for you. Of course, we're going to cover OPEC's production to rise by about 120,000 barrels in December, according to the latest numbers that got released. We'll cover what that means for the markets. We'll also talk about the global economy in 2023, how governments could make the energy crisis worse this year. As always, Stu brings the most positive articles. And then we'll also talk about a story that we ran on Newsbeat. Poland imported a record amount of LNG in 2022. You love to hear it. We'll kick it over to me for finance. It's an odd day with crude oil storage dropping tomorrow in tandem with the EIA injection numbers. So we'll cover projections on both of those. Mainly what we'll talk about is the dip in crude oil. And I mean, man, were we wrong on, was everybody wrong on crude oil? But still $73 holding strong. I think, if we can stay above that mark, that $70 mark, it is good. But the big news out of the oil and gas field, Rockcliffe Energy, which is owned by private equity from Quantum Energy Partner, is in advanced talks to be purchased from a unit of Tokyo Gas Company, which is very interesting. I think says a lot of different things, Stu, geopolitically about where the rest of the world thinks the energy coming from. When you talk about Rockcliffe, that's Haynesville, baby. That's right in our backyard here, Stu. So it's really interesting to see it, to see this move. We'll cover all of that and a bag of chips, guys. But first, check us out on the world's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com. It's where all of the articles that we reference come from here. We've got it linked in the bio. If you haven't checked out dashboard.energynewsbeat.com, that'll also be linked in the bio. Stu, make sure that happens. That's a one-stop shop for all your news and data combined. We're really working on rolling out almost a Bloomberg-like product. I mean, I'm not going to go so far to say as we've even come close to that, but that's the goal, is roll something out that's all-encompassing between news, data, analysis, everything that helps you stay up to tune with what's going on in the markets. The goal is to pump in there. It's an early V1. We're looking to roll out pretty much we're looking to do subversions every 2 weeks. So the goal is 1.1 comes out not this Friday, but next Friday, and kind of roll it on from there. But we appreciate everybody who's reached out and said they've enjoyed it. Check it out, dashboard.energynewsbeat.com, on the world's greatest website, energynewsbeat.com. But enough of the pleasantries, Stu. I could tap my back shoulder all night talking about the dashboard. Where would you like to begin?
Let's start with Hawaii, but real quick, I want to give a shout out to Sandy. Your beloved dog behind you is a hoot. She's chewing on your shoe, I think. So for the listeners on our podcast, Michael Tanner's dog behind is just as happy as she could be chewing on his shoe. Okay, with that, let's roll around to Hawaii, Michael. Going around the world, Hawaii Island's biggest solar plus storage plant will soon deliver power at 9 cents kilowatt. I think that's great. I think honestly that this is something fabulous for Hawaii. Hawaii may be one of those few places where solar is actually fantastic, because by the time you ship everything there for oil or coal, it gets painfully expensive. Hawaiian Electric Company is one of the lowest rates payable energy anywhere in the state. I'm not sure there's some hydro out there for 3 kilowatt or trapped flare that's even lower than that. So that does fight into the big one. The battery and storage systems coming in on this. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, again, I'll believe it when I see it. I would love for us to find solar plus. I would love for this article to be true, but if you had to ask me one way or the other, do I believe it? I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I probably short it, if only because. And again, I don't know too. Again, we don't know too much of the details. Obviously, they
Right.
have a purchase agreement, which is for 25 years. That's conveniently helpful. 9 cents a kilowatt hour. I mean, that's low. Like that's very low. The real question is how much of this will go to storage. I mean, obviously a lot of it's going to go to storage, but are they just going to pump this straight into the grid? So then does that make the storage aspect of this fairly neutral?
Right. Where's the total ROI on this budget plan? Hey, you missed it, Michael. I thought you would have had this one. I don't know how I'm going to say his name, but Baiwa, RE's assessment in August that the Wakila project would be substantially completed in the 4 remaining months of 2022.
What does that mean? Substantially.
Thank you. IR guy of the week. He's in the running. Substantially completed.
Yeah, he's only mostly dead. He's only mostly dead.
Miracle Max comes again.
We're almost done.
Almost done.
We're almost done. Substantially completed. Now, I do love that.
All right, dude. We're coming around the corner. This one is about mining and precious metals and critical minerals. Recession risks to weigh on precious minerals prices, but weaker dollar could help. This is pretty interesting when you sit back and take a look at when you print money, Michael, inflation happens. Just as simple as that. And gold, when you take a look at it, prices of gold and related silver have not made the gains over the past year in multi-decade high inflation, thanks to the persistent strength in the US dollar as the Federal Reserve aggressively hikes interest rates. Here's a tidbit for you. What president got us off of the gold standard? Dun, 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 dun.
Nixon.
Nice. All right.
I'm a genius.
Yes, you are. Now, here's what's coming around the corner is there are several countries that are looking to go back to that standard. And quite honestly, we would never have $37 trillion worth of debt if we had still stayed on it. But the question is, Michael, I want to ask you this one. Should the U.S. central bank keep interest rates stable or even lower them? A record high for gold in euro terms seems quite possible. What are your thoughts?
I mean, on interest rates, I think the central bank is doing, unfortunately, what probably needs to happen, which is squeeze out a lot of this cheap money. As painful as that is for a lot of people, it probably, having 0% interest rates is was not smart. There's a lot of people that, are arbitraging, all of this just free capital out there. And so, I mean, do I think they need to keep going up? I don't know. And thank goodness I'm not on the Fed chair. I'd have no idea what to do. I just, so I mean, we can Monday morning quarterback their decisions, but at the end of the day, I've got zero clue what I would do. So sure, hike interest rates. Let's see if that just slows it down. I think it's interesting that we haven't seen the unemployment numbers spike as heavily as you would thought. You would think with rising interest rates, we'd see unemployment spike, but that's a good thing because when unemployment spikes and you have high unemployment and high inflation, that's called stagflation. That ain't any good. Last time we saw that was in the 1970s with, I'm pretty sure it was Nixon. So,
no, you did good. Now, here's the next one. Last week they said that they had overstated the jobless by 1 million. So they falsified the reports. So actually the numbers that are in there for employment right now are 1 million off. Okay, I'm going to the next one here. OPEC's oil production rises by 120,000 barrels per day in December. This is pretty interesting article, is that The group of producers noted 120,000 BPD raise in production, according to Reuters, and OPEC pumped 29 million barrels per day in December. Now, a lot of that came from Nigerian input and additional things. But here's the key, is that in the bottom paragraph here, Michael, it says that the increase was barely made based off of their production that they could not make in the last few months. Oh,
Interesting.
So anyway, they're going to rebound, but they can't make the rebound anyway. So I think it's kind of
I think that's again part of the reason why you see oil prices down a little bit today was due based off this report. I think there's a lot of oil to go around.
right.
Now we do know there is there's a lot to say. I think it's more of a geopolitical thing and how the posturing is versus the numbers. I think everybody, did we expect these numbers? Yeah. I mean, I think we all sort of know we're producing a little bit more, or OPEC is producing a little bit more. I think when you see it in the numbers, it's a little bit more like, that's what's going on. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff, China demand, but I think this is one of the main drivers of oil prices today.
Shoot me. Okay. Global economy. The next one coming around the corner is global economy in 2023, how governments could make the energy crisis worse this year. Huh. Okay. So when we sit here and take a look at this, the entire global and is all of the governments in the world, as far as I'm concerned, very few of them are making good decisions. The rest of them are just absolutely doing stupid decisions. Now, that being said, nobody's asking me, but the oil market, the outlook for oil in this article says the outlook for oil will be very different story in 2023. The EU's Russian oil sanctions came into effect in December 5th, 2022 for crude and will start February 5th for petroleum products, the diesel and the gasoline and all that kind of stuff. Here's my question as well, and I'm not sure the answer. I'm going to have to go fact check myself. But yesterday we talked about Russia and India buying now in rubles the Russian oil, bypassing the OPEC production numbers. So it's going to be 1 million barrels per day rolling in, or 800. Anyway, it's a ton going into India. Does that come out of the production numbers is something I've got to check on. But in this article, Michael, we're going to see the impact of the sanctions coming in at the end of this month are actually going to take in on diesel and gasoline come rolling around the corner. So sanctions don't work, prices increase, and now we're going to have it on diesel and gasoline. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. What do you think?
Yeah, it's clear sanctions don't work. You've pat yourself on the back. You called that. I mean, when this was floated 8 months ago, you were on it. So I think you deserve there. I do believe that we're going to see electrical prices continue to go up. I mean, we haven't heard anything really. I mean, there was a big stretch there, in October through November about everyone in the EU posting their electric bills for the upcoming year. Haven't really heard much out of that. We've seen prices on electrical fall a little bit. It'd be interesting to see the fallout from what's taking place in the U.S. domestic natural gas market, specifically with futures still trading about $4. Does that impact LNG prices over there? Does that bring down that? But, the numbers say no. So trying to regulate all this stuff, Stu, I think is pretty interesting. I think you hit the nail on the head with sanctions don't work. The issue is they they legislate through regulation, something you've talked about often. So they're gonna have every incentive to continue to come in and place regulations. And I think that's where the more you start meddling with this, the more you get in this situation we're in now.
Oh, absolutely. Free markets work. Okay, here's one I like. Poland imported record amount of liquefied natural gas in 2022. Let's do a round of applause for the folks from Poland. They have really taken the getting onto the LNG. These numbers are staggering. They received in Poland, I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce the name of that LNG terminal. They received 50,
Schwinjusel?
bless you.
Schwinjusel?
Yes, I'm not sure. Received 58 shipments carrying 4.4 million tons of LNG from the U.S. That was 66% more deliveries and 57 more than the 35 shipments coming in from the 2.8 million. So
Here we go. Here's the split. The largest number of LNG deliveries from the United States at 36. Guess who was number 2? Qatar. 18.
Yeah. Okay, now here's something we talked about yesterday, and that is Qatar signed that 27-year high-end contract
with China, right?
To China. So if Qatar is going to do that, that took that much LNG off the market. That's going to make it better for the U.S. in order to increase the prices for the rest of the world. Rutro. So, these are numbers. These are market impacting numbers.
Yeah, I gotta love it. It looks like Poland is also awaiting a new floating LNG facility set to come online in 2026. So Poland knows what.
And
they love it.
The other buried nugget in here, Michael, is Poland's first LNG tankers will go into service in 2023. That's more critical than you can imagine, because if it's flagged under Poland, they won't get sanctioned on it because they can insure it themselves under the flag. There's a lot of marine law that I don't know, but it does impact it. So there's
love dolphins. We're pro dolphin on this show.
Do what now?
I said we're pro dolphin.
Pro dolphin, yes. What a great trip around the world. I feel refreshed.
Good. Is that all you got?
That's all I got, dude. Let's go to finance.
Yeah, I mean, overall markets today, we had a little bit to smile about. S&P was up 0.75 percentage point. NASDAQ only up 0.5 percentage point. Interest rates staying about the same. US 10-year up about 0.75 percentage, or a third of a percentage point. As we mentioned in the earlier segment, crude oil prices, they fall to about 73.37 as we record this on the 4th, which is the night before, at 6:30 on the nose. There's two reasons. One, we've got recession fears continue to build on the U.S. side, and then we also have, whatever's going on in China. I don't think anybody knows. I just think they start throwing them into articles to say, "Oh, China." Okay, well, tell me what's going on in China. I think then, and I think the interesting part is there's mixed messages, but then also OPEC's production today does not provide very much, bullish news on crude oil prices. It was a pretty big day, to be honest with you. We started trading about $77 when we woke up, and by the time we logged off till we sit now, Stu, it's 73.37. So it's been a tough day
before we go to your next thing. I'm going to interrupt you for a half sec. Can you go China again? Are you trying to imitate The Sopranos or Putin when you said it that way? Either you were a Russian or you were Soprano. I could not tell.
You're going to have to go with Soprano, I guess.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. Okay. On the nat gas side, things hold fairly steady. On both the crude oil and the natural gas. We're waiting on the EIA numbers for drop on the injection numbers. Last year we had a injection of 50 a draw of 46. The range of expectations, I mean, it's a big one. We could either have a 153 or 153 draw, or a 269 BCF draw, and that's on the EIA natural gas storage. So it's a wide range of expectations. Remember, last week we had a 213 BCF draw from the natural gas storage. That's, a year over. That's basically like double what we had the year before. So, and prices still fell. So again, as we get a dual rollout here at about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, it'd be interesting how prices. I don't necessarily predict prices going crazy with the news, if only because I think there's a lot of other bearish news holding both of these indices now, but it'll be interesting to see what crude oil comes in at. My guess is we're going to have a little bit of a draw, but we will see what those numbers come in at.
Right.
I think the other big thing we'd be remiss to if we didn't cover was the big M&A deal that happened.
Nice.
If you're into sweet American natural gas like I am, I love it. I love me some good old sweet American natural gas. I'm sure you're familiar with Rockcliffe Energy. They're a private equity company based out of Houston, owned by Quantum Energy Partners. So, we won't hold it against them that they're private equity owned, but that's okay. They're getting bought for about $4.6 billion by Tokyo Gas Company, a unit of them, which also operates out of Houston. So it's pretty crazy. That deal includes debt. It would be the latest in the deals of the Japanese oil and gas companies to get in bed with this within the United States. We've seen a couple other of those deals, but to give you guys an idea on Rockcliffe, they really started acquiring assets in about 2017. They own about 270 net acres in East Texas. It's all Haynesville shale. 90% of their acreage is held by production, 1 BCF per day of production. They're 100% on non-federal lands, and they have a strategic partnership with Trace Minerals, with Trace Midstream, which is also a Quantum Energy Partners portfolio company. So a little bit of economics of scale. I mean, it's private equity, so what do you expect? They've got a field headquarters located in Longview, but their headquarters are in Houston. People at Quantum have a nice bonus this year. They're going to have a tax problem. I'll tell you what, those people at Quantum, Stu, they're going to have a tax problem because these assets were acquired for about $200 billion. So that they've spent money along the way. So, cashing in on your natural gas assets, good for Rockcliffe. I'm interested in your opinion, though, Stu. This is the latest of the string of Japanese oil and gas companies getting into United States natural gas. Is this a trend you see going forward? And what do you think this tells us about the markets in general?
Yes. No, I think that they are. And I quite honestly do not have a problem with investment from Japan.
Oh, yeah. But does this mean that, we think, is this move say something broader about where the world thinks oil and gas is going? Because someone like Japan, they don't have any domestic resources. They have to import everything. So
exactly.
When I see somebody like them making an investment, my idiot brain might think, are they just trying to secure their own supply? Or does it say something broader about what everyone's thinking?
Think about what we talked about yesterday. And yesterday we talked about the big boys, Chevron and Exxon, coming out of the rest of the world and pulling back into the U.S. That right there is a good market indicator for Japan to buy into. It is saying it's the right thing to do. Is the American oil and gas business is going to survive and survive very well. Is it? And so if Japan needs the LNG, they could see that China just did the deal with Qatar, and that locked up a good chunk of LNG.
Yep.
They better be able to do something here in the US or they're going to have some problems. You're going to see more of it in the Haynesville, because the Haynesville is one of the best next to up there in the Appalachia area.
Yeah, and EQT controls all of that. So unless you're going to see somebody come in and take EQT out, which it's not going to be cheap. This is about as big of a play as you can get. So I love it, Stu. That's all I've got on the finance side. Is there anything else these people should be aware about before we let them go?
No, but we need to check your shoes tomorrow. I'd like to give a shout out to Sandy for enjoying your shoe. So,
Yeah.
for our
Luckily,
listeners,
it's
his
a new
dog.
toy, but I think she's
Oh,
good.
okay.
So,
All right.
well, all right, guys. We appreciate it. With that, we're gonna get out of here. Let you get back to work or start your day. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.